And Political Talk is a program that explores key political issues influencing Nigeria's future with a focus on the forthcoming November 16 governorship election in Ondo State. The program also offers in-depth analysis, expert opinions, and balanced discussions on the impact of the election in the state. I'm Olubukola Adu, and it's my pleasure to be your host. If you're just joining us, this is Political Talk on the Nigerian Television Authority, and the focus of our conversation today is the Electoral Law 2022. The Electoral Law 2022 is a comprehensive reform of Nigeria's electoral framework signed into law in February 2022 by the former President Muhammadu Buhari. And this law introduces significant changes aimed at enhancing the integrity, transparency, and credibility of Nigeria's electoral process. However, challenges remain in the implementation, as public awareness and logistics can still pose obstacles during the electoral periods. And that is why we are discussing this topic at this time. And I have here with me in the studio a legal practitioner who will help us to dissect and provide insights into that topic. And my guest is, let's say, barrister, legal practitioner, Tebitope Mishiwon. Welcome to the program.
It's my pleasure.
So let's just start with the electoral law. Can you just provide an overview of the most significant provisions in this electoral law 2022?
Thank you. It is a known fact that the Constitution is the ground norm law that regulates Nigerians. Electoral Acts, or let me say electoral law, is the legal framework that regulates electoral process in Nigeria, and it is important in the course of electioneering in Nigeria because there is no how we discuss without pointing to the law that regulates election in Nigeria. There are many significant provisions that are provided for in the new Electoral Act, that is the 2022 Electoral Act, as against the repealed one. And these provisions and innovations are good as we're in a modernized society. Number one, the early release of funds for INEC officials. That is the electoral body that conducts election in Nigeria, is one of the innovations, and this is very vital. In that law, Section 3, Sub 3, particularly, provides that election funds must be released at least 1 year before the election day. This will enhance INEC officials to be independent. It is only a daft brain that we have 1 year to plan something and we still fail in it. If this is maximized well by the electioneering body, then it will assist the good conduction of election in Nigeria.
Can I come in at this junction? Okay. Will you say that there is implementation of this very provision now that we are about, going into election in Ondo State?
Yes, once it is into law, then once the law has provided for it, the law is bound to ban whosoever are subject or accept to the law. That is the position of the law, that election funds should be released at least a year before the election day so that they can plan ahead. That is not the only innovation. Another innovation there is early conduct of party primaries and submission of aspirants,
The list.
aspirant lists. The early conduct of party primaries states that this must be done at least 180 days before the day of general election. So this is another innovation that is very good for our time. That's
But
not
you
the
will
only
agree
one.
with me that that's not what we are seeing now, because according to the law, election campaign should have started May. But if you look around the state, you can't really see a major mega rally or campaign in place. What do you think as a person now? So what do you think is responsible for this?
Well, it's a new law, and we are just getting used to the law, and there are still some errors that are bound to happen. However, the law is the law. Whatever part of the law that any aggrieved party or any aggrieved person felt had been breached, then such part of the law can be challenged in the court of law, court of competent jurisdiction. If you believe that the day that is stipulated by the law were not stricto sensu followed by INEC, then whosoever
No, by
is
the
aggrieved.
political party now this time. They are not campaigning.
Oh, well, I don't belong to a political
I
party,
know
and then I believe they are doing whatever they should do. It's not about the campaign. The law says that their primary should be conducted at least 180 days
this.
before the day of general election. Is that complied with? That is the question to ask. The last innovation I would like to discuss about is the redefinition of overvoting. This is an introduction in the law too. In the repealed law, overvoting can be determined by the numbers of registered voters. But in the new law, 2022 Electoral Act, overvoting is defined by the numbers of accredited voters. Because, for example, we have 2 million registered voters, and we have 1.2 million accredited voters, where we have 1.8 million votes. And the definition of the repealed law said that the repealed law, the overvoting can be defined as the numbers of registered voters. Then it means the numbers of votes counted is still within the registered voters, notwithstanding that accredited voters are not up to the numbers that are being counted. But this new law, what it stipulates is that the overvoting will be defined by the numbers of accredited voters, not registered voters. This is very clear, and it will assist transparency and credibility of election in the country.
I know that the law also talks about or addresses issues like voter apathy and vote suppression. So, what penalties do you think the law prescribes for offenders?
Yes, apathy during election is something that the law frowns against. And whatever the law, there is a stipulated law to that effect. And the penalties are just one, fine, two, imprisonment. Whosoever is caught with involving in voting apathy, for example, that is the lack of interest of people coming out to vote. And there are many factors that can cause this. Some people might have issue that election had happened before, and I have my loved ones killed or murdered during election. I don't want to go out. Some people might say we are not concerned about the government of the days. It's still the same thing every 4 years. There is no new changes, no new development, and as a result of that, they will stay back, not coming out to vote. We will have less people who are coming out to vote. But how to combat this is to educate voters, to organize programs where prospective voters or voters will attend. They will educate them on why they should come out to vote, not campaign. This time around, it shouldn't be organized by political party. It should be organized by the body responsible for election,
INEC.
by educating voters on why they should come out to vote, ensuring voters that there are security in place, among other things. Then people who suppress voters, like send voters away from where they are voting, there are punishment for them. And the penalty for such punishment is either fine or imprisonment as provided for by the law.
Okay. So the next question now is what responsibility do political parties hold under this law to ensure compliance, with the updated electoral guidelines? How do we hold them accountable so that they can comply with all these provisions? That's political parties now.
Well, political parties are bounded by the Electoral Act too, and whatever provisions that they have there, I believe they have their legal team, and their legal team has the onus and responsibility to explain and interpret what the law states for them. And for example, the time frame by virtue of section 29, I think one of the Electoral Act that states that primary election of parties must be conducted at least 180 days. The onus lies on the legal team of each political parties to ensure that they complied with this, because non-compliance with that provision of the law might discredit such political party. Not compliance with submission of candidates or aspirants lists between this time or lifespan that has been given to them might discredit such candidates, and no political party will want his candidates or aspirants to be discredited. By virtue of this, the law is there. The law is there to ban them, the law is there to govern them, they will comply with it.
What if they don't comply?
Where they don't comply with it, the law is clear. The law is clear that such should be done between so date. Where it is not done, then INEC has the responsibility of dancing to the language of the law. What is the language of the law? Where it is not complied with between that time, they have the power to reject such political party. And such political party, the best place they can go, or let me say the worst place they can go, is the court of law. If they get there, the law is still the
They're
law.
waiting for them. Okay.
Yes.
So one of the notable updates in this law is the legal backing for the use of technology.
Yes.
So do you believe that this new development will enhance the electoral process?
Yes, I believe that it will enhance electoral process. The reason is this: the world is advancing. We are in a technology age. Gone are those days when ages were very dark. And we need technology so that we can progress as the world is progressing. For example, the beavers that was introduced will assist so many things. In the historical precedents of election in Nigeria, we have incidents of snatching of ballot boxes. We have incidents of overvoting. We have incidents of one person voting more than 50 times. But the introduction of technology, women are bound to make error, but computers don't make error so far the correct information are put there. It will regulate overvoting. It will regulate snatching of ballot boxes. Nobody can snatch ballot boxes. But I know you might have the question that is there no possibility that the use of technology, computer for example, it can be hijacked by hackers.
Manipulated. Yeah, that's actually my next question.
Yes, the issue here is that in the new Electoral Act, there is a provision for some protocols who combat cyber crimes. And in our country, we have cyber crimes law. And this law governs people who deals illegally with, or who deals in a way that is not inter them with the rules, terms, and regulations that govern cyber things. We have people of such, and where anybody attempts or tamper with the instruments of electioneering, then such a person will automatically be subject to that law. That's cyber law. And such a person, when caught, or if evidence is gotten against or established against that person, will be prosecuted accordingly. So the use of technology in our electioneering system in Nigeria today is a good one. It shows that Nigeria is progressing and we're advancing as the world is advancing.
Do you think the electronic voting. Some people will tell us that we are not ripe enough in Nigeria to, you know, embrace electronic voting. What's your view or what's your take on this,
Well,
so that even people in diaspora can can participate in the election?
Nigeria is not a small country. At least I think 2 days ago, Nigeria clocks 1 year plus to make him over
That's 64.
64 years. And a 64-year-old man at this time is an elderly person. And if the question is Nigeria is not ripe enough to make use of technology, Rome was not built in a day. We start something somewhere. We cannot be perfect the day we start it. The day it is being started, man cannot be perfect that day. But as we continue in it, practice brings perfection. As we continue making use of it, then we will get used to it. We will understand the know-how and every other thing. But if we still remain that Nigeria is not yet ripe for making use of technology, then we will remain in dark age and many things will be wrong in so many ways. Just like many malpractices that this new technology stands to curb in our electioneering process.
The program is talking political talk on the Nigerian Television Authority, and I've been talking with Barrister Temitope Siwon, and the topic of discourse is the Electoral Law or the Electoral Act 2022, and that's what we've been talking about. So the program will return shortly. Just stay with us. Thank you for staying with us. The program is Political Talk on the Nigerian Television Authority, and we've been talking about the Electoral Act 2022 as it affects us here in Ondo State as we move closer to November 16, governorship election. And I have here with me in the studio, and we've been talking on that topic, Barrister Temitope Siwon. So my next question now is, the Electoral Act 2022 is for everybody, even as the political parties, INEC, even the electorate. So how do we make this law popular so that everybody will be on the same page?
Well, making the law popular is not something difficult and not far-fetched. It is simple. It can be achieved through widespread campaign, organizing widespread campaign, letting people in the rural area to know about this law because it is for all, not just for a set of people. And another thing that works so very well in our contemporary now is the media. Media too is another way to spread it. The media will assist many uninformed people to get informed. Most people are on their phones most time. Many people watch televisions and many people listen to radio. So by listening to this information has been disseminated through these channels, through media. Then the information will cut across so many places. Many people will be informed about this. How about people in the rural area have access to televisions, have access to radio, not have access to all these media, phones, among others? Then that is the place where the widespread campaign will identify these places. The body responsible for elections will ensure that officials goes to these places. They organize campaign. They explain to them. They let them get informed about the new law. With this, the information will spread all around, and everybody will be informed about the position of the new 2022 electoral.
Thank you. And let's just talk about post-election disputes now. What measures, or provisions do we have in the new law that address or that addresses this? What mechanism do we have in place, available for resolving electoral conflicts as
Well,
the post-electoral conflict?
it is not new in Nigeria that almost every after general election that the party who the election did not favor wants to go to court. Uh, it's only amazes me during the time of our past president, Goodluck Jonathan, when they won him and he said he's not going to court and he stayed. But that is amazing and that is quite interesting. However, most of our politicians, most of our leaders won't go to court. The new 2022 Electoral Act has made the provisions to regulate the time within which post-election grievances will be attended to. For example, starting from the date of filing to the day the judgment will be delivered, there is a lifespan, a time frame that has been provided for it. This will enhance a fast dissemination of judgments, and the new law has assisted us to know that the post-election litigation will not just go and go without an end.
Okay. We know that during election, there are always an individual or individuals or a group of people who want to either manipulate or they are found culpable of committing electoral offences. What are the penalties spelled out in this law?
Well, committing an electoral offences is not something that the law smiles at, and the law frowns against it. And whatever the law does not support, there is always a punishment for such. And the punishment for people who try to disrupt election, among other things, is imprisonment or fine, as the court might find it, according to the evidence that is placed before.
Okay. So, from your own perspective now, what challenges might arise in the practical implementation of this law in future elections? What
Yeah,
do you foresee
what challenges?
you think might arise, in practical implementation, of this law?
Well, practically we are implementing it already, but there is no how that we can work without our heads moving here and there. There are some unforeseen circumstances that the draftsmen of the law might not see. Whilst we progress, we see them and we progress with it. The introduction of technology into the electoral is a very good innovation. And as we continue, we have kids of nowadays growing to get advanced in technology. There might be challenge of how do we how do we how do we secure this data that it is not being infiltrated by anybody, it's not being tampered with by anybody. We might have this challenge in the future, but the fact that I can think of it now, that this is a challenge you might have. Some people are thinking on how to do this. We should also have people who will be thinking on how to combat and stop this.
Thank you very much. As a legal practitioner, on a concluding note, what advice, because there is this saying that there is no ignorance in law. So, what is your advice for that the political parties, the electoral body, INEC, even the electorate concerning the electoral
Well,
act
you
2022?
have just taken the job of a legal practitioner. You've told the general public now that ignorance of the law is not an excuse. The fact that you don't know that this thing is in law does not mean that when you get to the court of law, if you have held the law, that they will look at you and say, because he doesn't know, let him go. No, we must get ourselves acquainted with relevant law that is applicable in town. The truth is many people knows the law, but they don't just know how to apply the law. The difference between myself, a legal practitioner, and someone who is not a learned person outside there is that I know the law and I know how to apply the law. Many people knows the law, but they don't know how to
To apply
apply
it.
the law. So the application of the law just relies with us. The fact that you don't know how to apply the law, if you have little knowledge about the law, try to be beside the law and not at the back of the law.
Law. That's the advice. Try to be beside the law and not against the law. So, on this note, we have come to the conclusion of this week's episode of Political Talk on the Nigerian Television Authority. And I want to appreciate my guest for finding time to be here. Thank you so very much. We appreciate you.
It's my pleasure.
Once I see you again next week, God willing, stay safe.